Good morning from River Mountain Homestead as we welcome winter back on the scene this morning. We had some pretty nasty storms roll through yesterday morning about 3 or 4 a.m. Golf ball size hail. It was 60-mile-an-hour winds, pretty nasty. Little Storm B's trying to knock me over down here. She's wanting low. Took advantage after the rain was over yesterday and went and ran and took care of getting the dog ear fencing for the garden shed. I actually got the call while I was out yesterday that my tin was ready for this lean-to down here and for the garden shed. Oh, hi, Bee. She's a mess. But I got that picked up yesterday. We are 40 degrees this morning with 20-mile-an-hour winds. So we're feeling like about 32, and I don't think it's supposed to change much at all today. But we're just going to suck it up and push through it. Excuse you, honey. I don't think we're going to do any roofing today in the 20-mile-an-hour winds. If anybody's ever messed with sheet metal in the wind before, they understand. I actually rode a sheet off a 12-foot sidewall one time 20, 30-something years ago, and it's not any fun, and I don't intend on doing it today. But we should be able to get the outside of this garden shed covered, and whatever else, I don't know, just whatever my heart leads me in the direction of is what I'll take care of today, and maybe spring will be back in a couple of days, and we'll just have to wait and see. But let's get this tin out of my truck so I can use it back up here at the garden. It appears it may just be one of those days today. We'll just have to wait and see if it gets better. I made my first cut over here for the shed for one of my lad pieces and laid my saw down just right where it caught the cord inside the skill saw. So now I got to stop and do some patchwork on my very expensive extension cord. It is what it is. Just part of life. Now, who knew this was going to turn into how I repair a extension cord after I cut it like a fool video, but here we go. I didn't take you to the shed with me down there. I had these 3 little fittings. I got a bunch of little electrical fittings and stuff, and they got heat shrink tubing on the ends. I'll show you how that works when I make the other connection here. So the other end of the cord is still, and I still had power. This was still hot. It didn't even trip the breaker, and it was plugged in on a GFI. Make sure you unhook your power before you start working on an extension cord. I couldn't believe it didn't pop it. Might even help if you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just stripping this back. Watch your fingers. Just got 3 wires in these, a neutral and a hot and a ground. Just want to strip your insulation back on your wiring for these specific connectors. Less than 1/4 of an inch in there. If I can get it to do it that little. Give or take that much. Maybe just a hair more. That's more than plenty. And then you mate, of course, your same color wires to your same color wires. Green to green. to crimp. And after you crimp it, you want to give it a good tug and make sure it got a good bite, because if not, you got to cut it all out and start over. I don't know if you can see that, what I'm doing here. This lays into that, and then it's got this little foot that smashes. And there's a guide here for different wire types, insulation, this or that, whatever. And then with that inside the metal there, you're just crimping that together. Then you got all your connections made. Now you can see the difference in how this side is shrunk down and how this side is still kind of flared open. And this is heat shrink tubing that's attached to these connectors. So as you can imagine, you apply heat and it shrinks. This may be a little bit of excessive heat, but helps give it the good seal. Don't get too crazy with it or you'll melt all your insulation off your wire. And that's going to help seal it up from the weather and the elements, keep it from moisture getting in. This is not the right way to do it. This is not the wrong way to do it. This is just my way to do it. And then I'm going to wrap all this looseness in its entirety in some electrical tape, about 2 layers worth. And we'll call it back to business. And this is no longer an OSHA approved extension cord. Cannot be used on a commercial job site. But works just fine right here. I'm gonna have to find me another roll of electrical tape. Had a hard enough time finding this one. Better wait on that second layer and get the rest of this. Just so it's not snagging and ripping. Pretty sure it's not the first patch on this cord, and there's a good chance that it won't be the last. And with that, this concludes Extension Cord Repair 101. That's exactly what I was trying to say. And we can get back to work. And just so you're aware, if the wind is whipping 20-25 mile an hour, this is not the day to try to do this kind of stuff by yourself, because everything is just blowing everywhere and you get something positioned and situated and you reach for a screw and you get hit with other stuff, and yeah, it's fun. I'm enjoying myself. Well, there's two sides, but it's lunchtime, so I gotta take a break. And I don't think it's looking too bad. It's definitely not perfect, but it's a little garden shed, and I do believe it's gonna do just fine at keeping a few tools dry. That's all that matters, right? Apparently the ladies needed to come check out the new shed. They're not real sure what to think about it yet. I'll tell you what, I looked around just for a second there and the wind had died down, and I went and grabbed that piece of tin and cut it in half, lickety split, and boom, it's got a roof. I gotta finish screwing it down now. I forgot to turn you guys back on, but I had a chance to get the roof on in this wind and I took advantage. Now, I had not had plans to trim this out, but I had one piece of dog ear left over. So I got to looking and calculating and figuring what I need. I'll have to get a few more so I can finish trimming this thing out, but it's just gonna clean it up that much more, get rid of these rough edges, and just make it look a little bit nicer. Just by trimming it out, so. Just kind of cleans everything up. And I know that'll make Mama happy, so if Mama's happy, I'm happy, right? But just trimming it out is going to help quite a bit on the look. I think I need like 4 or 5 more pieces of dog ear, and that'll get both sides and up front, up top. And even still, adding 5 more pieces, that'll be another 10 bucks. So this is going to be a video about how I built my garden shed out of new materials for less than $150, which in this day and age really isn't too bad, considering it's new tin, new wood, you know, some borrowed stuff from the woods here. Even the 2x were cut that are new, even though they came from a sawmill. Not a bad looking little old shed, and it's going to give me a spot to keep my tiller in the dry and some of my tools, and it'll be close to the garden, so rock and roll. But I think that's all I've got for today, guys. I know tomorrow's Friday. I should be able to get some stuff done tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to be working on. I've got most everything for the rabbit waterer, but not everything yet. And I've got the lumber that I need and the tin for the roof on the lean-to for the shed. But you know how Mama says she gets tired not being able to build anything, so I may save that for her Saturday, and that'll give her something to help me with. And because we got 5 posts to set, because we know she loves digging holes and busting rocks. So I'll have to set 5 cedar posts on it because it's gonna be like 18 by 8 lean-to off the back of the shed down there for another storage, just to get stuff in the dry and out from the weather, since springtime's coming and it wants to rain every day. But that's all I got for today, guys. We will catch you on the next one.